Hi, I'm Belinda Luscombe, Editor-at-Large at Time Magazine, and this is 10 Questions. Today, we are asking questions of Mr. Chaz Bono. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
So you've written a book, Transition, about this journey.
Yes.
Now, the first question I think people really want to know is, are you nuts changing genders?
Oh, wow. God, nobody's put it quite like that. No, I don't believe I'm nuts. I discovered about 10 plus years ago that what I had perceived as sexual orientation was actually about gender identity, and made the decision to transition.
How much more difficult was the whole process of coming to terms with who you are because your mother and father were so famous?
Really difficult.
And here's our own very special guest.
Tonight and every night.
Our little girl, Chastity.
I mean, that was the really difficult part for me. I think that if I was an anonymous person, I probably would have done this at least 10 years ago. But the thing that, scared me so much was, what is everybody going to think? Everybody's going to think I'm crazy. It will destroy my life. It'll destroy my family's life. And it took me many, many years to get past that and get to a point where I finally felt comfortable and knew that this was the right thing for me to do, and that I was going to be okay in doing this.
Let's talk a little bit about the process. You've been taking testosterone for how long now?
Just over 2 years.
And it's monthly shots?
Actually weekly.
Weekly shots,
yes.
Wow. And what has been the most unexpected sort of, the voice deepens, we expect
Right.
that, the kind of muscle
Yes, all of that I
mass.
expected. I think probably the emotional changes that I started to experience, and it's hard to say exactly how much of it is the hormone testosterone versus finally feeling comfortable in my body. But I just feel so much better. I'm so much more comfortable. I'm so much happier. I just feel really content. And then I had to learn to deal with just feelings and stuff that came up. Like before, I really wasn't able to feel anger very easily, whereas now I can. And so I have to be aware of those type of things and be aware of the way that I come across, because it's very different now.
I've heard in interviews you've talked about how sometimes actually women's chatter sort of kind of bugs you a little bit more than it used to.
It's hard for me to talk as much as I used to, like literally to engage and talk. And I don't know why, but so in my house, and this has always been, my girlfriend is, she talks a lot. She doesn't ever stop talking. That's Jenny is kind of like, I like to think of her as like a modern day Lucille Ball. So stuff that, that it was a little easier to let it roll off my back before than it is now.
Now, I think a lot of women will be shocked because you had gender reassignment surgery and you had your breasts removed, which for a lot of women, for better or worse, that's part of their identity.
It scares women a lot.
Yeah,
they don't
yeah.
understand it.
We can give you a mirror if you want to see this.
Wow. Nice and flat, huh?
So can you talk a bit about that how that felt to you, and whether that was a thing that you approached with trepidation?
I didn't approach it at all with trepidation. It's something that I've wanted to do for so long. And for me, when my breasts grew, they didn't feel like they belonged in my body, and I did everything that I could always to try to de-emphasize them and hide them. And so to finally have that be gone for me was like the final piece of the puzzle of, when I looked in the mirror and saw a male chest, it was exhilarating.
The coming out as a transgender individual, how does it compare to the coming out as a lesbian? Is there any?
For me, it was a big difference, because when I came out as a lesbian, I knew a lot of gay and lesbian people. I knew there was a large gay and lesbian community, and even though it was difficult, it didn't, in the circles that I ran in, it wasn't thought of as, bad or crazy or anything like that. Whereas so little is known about being transgender, and so many people have such strong opinions and really don't understand it. And we are such a smaller minority that it was really scary. It's like, well, what are people gonna think of me if I do this? And that was really scary. The idea of going from one minority to a smaller, even less understood minority was
Tiny pool.
yes, was very scary.
Are you and your girlfriend going to start a family, do you think?
I have a lot of friends who have had kids, and it's, from what I hear, it's the toughest job in the world. So you really want to do it. I feel like it's something you really have to really want to do, and neither of us are at that place. We still kind of enjoy our life the way it is. So that's where we are about it now.
So if you did, you'd have to then sit down and think about how you would explain to a child. How would you say it in the simplest terms?
I think for children, this kind of stuff is they get these things much easier. I have a goddaughter, and she's about 2.5 now, so we haven't talked about it, but I'm sure at some point we will. I would just say, I was born a little girl, but I always felt like a little boy, and when I grew up, I was finally able to become a boy.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The main thing you want to do is just go in fast.
All right, let me try.
You're nervous.
No, I'm not. Come on.
Because if you have any hesitation, we're
You're
not doing it.
sweating.